Hello everyone! It's great to see you all again in a brand new episode on the channel. Today, we'll continue the heartfelt story of Ly Hoai Ca and Hùng. In the previous episode, after Hùng and Hoai Ca took little Tony to the provincial hospital for his checkup, an unexpected incident occurred. Hoai Ca was robbed in broad daylight, losing all the money she had saved for Tony's treatment. The heartbreaking scene left everyone around stunned, but luckily, Hùng arrived just in time to help and bring her home safely. And in today's episode, after reporting the incident to the police, Hùng receives a phone call summoning him to cooperate with the investigation. Will any leads about the two robbers be found? Can the money for Tony's treatment be recovered? And after such a shock, will Hoai Ca still have the strength to keep going for her son's sake? Stay tuned for today's video to see how everything unfolds, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep following the emotional journey of Hoai Ca and Hùng, faith after the storm. The next morning, pale sunlight filtered through the window, casting a faint glow over the small room still veiled in the cool mist of dawn. The ticking of the clock blended with the steady breathing of little Tony. Hùng sat at the table, pouring himself a cup of hot coffee while preparing the things needed for his son's therapy session. Suddenly, his phone rang sharply, cutting through the stillness. He picked it up quickly. A firm, clear voice came from the other end of the line. "Is this Mr. Hùng? We've just arrested a young man for drug use. He's suspected of being involved in the robbery of your wife's bag yesterday. Could you come down to the station to identify him?" Hung's heart skipped a beat. The cup in his hand tilted slightly, a few drops of dark coffee dripping onto the table. A flood of mixed emotions surged within him, relief at finally having a lead, but also worry that the money for Tony's treatment might be gone forever. He turned around and saw Hoai Ca sitting by Tony's bed, her face pale, dark circles under her eyes from a sleepless night. "There's news," Hùng said, his voice low but tense. "I'm going to the police station. You stay here and look after Tony." Hoai Ca looked up, her lips trembling, eyes filled with both fear and hope. "Be careful, and if you can, please ask if they still have the money." Hùng nodded gently, stepped closer, and held her hand. It was cold, soft, and trembling slightly as he tightened his grip. "I'll do my best. No matter how little is left, we have to try. I won't let our son suffer anymore." He quickly threw on an old jacket and rushed out. The sound of his motorbike echoed through the narrow alley still shrouded in mist. Behind him, Hoai Ca stood by the door, clutching her shirt hem tightly as if to steady her heart. From inside, Tony stirred and murmured, "Mom," making her turn around, tears spilling down her cheeks. Out on the road, the cold morning wind whipped across Hung's face. The ride to the police station felt longer than usual. In his mind, the scene kept replaying, Hoai Ca falling to the pavement, her bag ripped away, her terrified eyes. He clenched his teeth and gripped the handlebars tighter. When he arrived, the station gate was still damp with dew. A few officers were chatting near the entrance. One of them recognized him and called out, "Mr. Hùng, please come in." The suspects in the interrogation room. Hùng followed them down a long corridor filled with the faint smell of cigarettes and old paperwork. Inside the room sat a young man, head bowed, hands cuffed, hair matted with sweat, his tattered jacket hanging loosely. His sunken eyes stared blankly, as if just waking from a long stupor. On his left wrist was a small, blurry tattoo. "Take a look," the officer said. "Is this the man who stole your wife's bag?" Hùng stared hard at him. His heart pounded. The build, the face, even the jacket, all matched the image burned into his memory. He nodded, voice hoarse. "That's him. It's definitely him." The young man bit his lip but said nothing. The investigator jotted down notes and spoke quietly. He admitted he had an accomplice, the one driving the motorbike. As for the money, most of it's already been spent on drugs. Hung's hands tightened until his knuckles turned white. Exhaustion, anger, and helplessness rose like a lump in his throat. Yet he forced himself to stay calm, eyes fixed on the man before him. All he could think of now was Hoai Ca and Tony, the little boy who still hadn't spoken a word, waiting for his father to bring hope back home. At the police station, The air was so tense you could almost hear the scratch of each pen stroke on paper. The smell of stale coffee mixed with cigarette smoke lingered in the air, while the harsh blue-white glow of the neon lights reflected off the officers' stern faces. When the iron door shut behind Hung with a dry clack, a shiver ran down his spine. In front of him sat a young man with his head bowed, wrists tightly cuffed. His face was gaunt, skin stretched over sharp cheekbones. His hair was a tangled mess, his eyes dull and unfocused, refusing to look up. The collar of his jacket was frayed, and his hands were scraped and caked with dirt, signs of a struggle before he was caught. The air carried the faint stench of mold and cheap alcohol, making Hung's stomach tighten, but he forced himself to step closer. The investigator behind the desk spoke in a calm, steady tone. "This is Nguyen Van Kai, a longtime addict." He confessed that desperation drove him to commit the robbery. "Here is your wife's bag." He hadn't yet managed to sell or use anything from it. On the table lay a small embroidered shoulder bag, one that Hung knew by heart. The sight of it made his chest tighten painfully. He stepped forward, eyes locked on it, the scuffed strap, a few loose stitches along the edge, the specks of dried mud. Every detail seemed to replay the horror of yesterday's scene. His hands trembled slightly as he bent down to open the clasp. Inside, everything was still there. The bundle of money wrapped carefully in paper for Tony's treatment, a few hospital documents smudged from the rain, and a small cloth handkerchief that Hoài Ca had used to wrap Tony's snack, still dusted with a trace of white flour. The familiar scent rose up, choking Hung, bringing tears to his eyes. He said nothing. He simply stood there, fingertips brushing the strap as his hand shook. His eyes carried not only relief, but also the weight of all the pain and fear that came rushing back, the image of Hoài Ca collapsing on the sidewalk, the crowd's startled cries, and her terrified face as the motorbike sped away. "We've recovered all of the stolen items," the officer continued, his tone softer now. "You can rest assured the money, the papers, everything's intact. But the case isn't over yet. He claims there's an accomplice who's still on the run. We're tracking him now." Hung nodded silently, lips pressed tight. He set the bag gently back on the table, though his gaze never left the young man opposite him. The robber sat slumped, breathing shallowly, as if drained of all strength. Hung studied him closely, torn between anger and pity, anger for the fear and pain he'd caused Hoài Ca, but pity too, for a man whose eyes had lost all light, leaving only emptiness and decay. "Mr. Hung," the investigator added, "we'll need your signature and your cooperation when we catch the other suspect." According to the confession, the two of them were hanging around the market near the hospital. It's likely they had been watching your wife beforehand. At that, a chill ran down Hung's spine. He suddenly remembered a strange man sitting near the fruit stall that day, staring at Hoài Ca's embroidered bag. He hadn't thought much of it then, but now, every detail fell into place, chillingly clear. He signed the document, his hand still trembling. As he straightened up, his eyes drifted once more toward the young man. The robber didn't speak, but suddenly smirked, a half-smile caught somewhere between mockery and despair. Hung froze for a moment. Something flickered inside him, a sense that this story wasn't over yet. That behind this petty theft, something darker was waiting to be uncovered. He gripped the bag tightly, drew a deep breath, and turned to leave. His figure disappeared down the long, bright corridor. Behind him, pen scratched on paper, and the young man, still bowing his head, murmured something under his breath, words too faint for anyone to hear. As Hung reached for the cold iron door, ready to leave the interrogation room, a faint click echoed in the still air. Suddenly, from behind him, a trembling, hoarse voice broke the silence, weak but earnest, as if gathering the last fragments of courage left in a shattered soul. "Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know the woman I robbed was your wife. I just needed money to buy medicine for my mother. She's sick." Hung froze in place. His footsteps halted on the cold tile floor, and for a moment, the entire room went utterly silent. Outside the barred window, a ray of early sunlight slipped through, slanting across the desk, casting a faint, fragile glow over the cuffed hands of the man behind him. Slowly, Hung turned. The young man was still sitting with his head bowed, hair matted and shoulders trembling. Under the pale blue-white light, his face was ashen, his lips cracked, and tears clung to the corners of his eyes. When he finally looked up, the defiance in his gaze was gone, replaced by fear, regret, and something deeper, despair. Hung stood there, saying nothing for a long time. All his anger, all the resentment that had been burning in his chest seemed to fade away, leaving only a heavy stillness, the kind one feels when realizing that sometimes evil doesn't come from cruelty, but from desperation. He took a slow step closer, his voice rough but steady, each word deliberate. "Do you know, my wife has also been struggling to scrape together money, just to treat our son. Do you understand that? The money in that bag was everything we had. It was her sleepless nights, my sweat in the fields, and our only hope, so that our boy might one day be able to speak." The young man's head dropped lower, tears streaming down his hollow cheeks. His voice broke as he spoke, trembling. I know I was wrong. I was desperate. My mother, she's very sick, and I had no money for her medicine. I wasn't thinking. I just wanted her to live a little longer. Now I've been caught, and she probably doesn't even know where I am. I just hope they'll let me go to rehab. I don't want my mother to see me like this anymore." The room fell silent again. Only the slow creak of the ceiling fan and the muffled sobs of the young man filled the air. Hung lowered his head, clenched his fists, then slowly released them. He looked at the boy's tear-streaked face, and in those blurred eyes, he saw something achingly familiar, the same longing every parent carries, the hope that their child will one day find their way back. He sighed softly, his tone deep and heavy, more like advice than condemnation. "You need to change, not to make up for what you did to me, or to earn anyone's pity, but so your mother won't have to cry anymore. As long as she's alive, let her see that you can still start over." The young man looked up, lips trembling, trying to speak, but no words came. Hot tears rolled down his face, hitting the cold tile and shattering into tiny, glistening drops. Even the investigator nearby bowed his head slightly, turning a page in his notebook with quiet sorrow in his eyes. Hung glanced at them, gave a faint nod. He wasn't sure if what he felt was forgiveness, or simply exhaustion too deep for anger. Either way, something inside him eased. Perhaps, deep down, every person is fighting a battle between guilt and hope, only some fall harder than others. He turned, tightening his grip on the embroidered bag, and stepped out of the room. His shadow stretched long across the white floor, merging with the pale light spilling through the window. Outside, the morning sun had begun to spread across the courtyard, chasing away the lingering chill. A gentle breeze swept by, carrying with it the faint scent of milk flowers, like a quiet reminder of compassion, the only thing that can bring peace to the human heart, if only for a fleeting moment. Late in the afternoon, the hospital corridor was bathed in a soft golden hue. The last light of day streamed gently through the window, falling across Hoài Ca's face, weary, yet full of tenderness. She sat beside the bed, patiently blowing on each spoonful of warm porridge before feeding Tony. The comforting scent of rice blended faintly with the sharp antiseptic in the air, creating an atmosphere both warm and heavy with emotion. Tony sat quietly in his mother's lap, his tiny hands clutching her sleeve, wide dark eyes fixed on the steaming bowl. Outside, the hospital loudspeaker murmured softly, and the footsteps of nurses faded down the corridor. The world seemed to still. Only the gentle clink of the spoon against the bowl remained. Then, all of a sudden, Tony's lips pressed together, his throat trembled. A faint, shaky sound, fragile yet unmistakable, broke the quiet. "Mom." Hoài Ca froze. For a moment, she thought she had imagined it. Her hands trembled, nearly spilling the spoon. Then Tony looked up again, his small lips moving once more, clearer this time, firmer. "Mom." That single word, short, clumsy, yet piercingly pure, shattered all exhaustion and fear. Hoài Ca gasped, tears streaming down her face, falling into the half-eaten bowl of porridge. She turned to Hung, voice quivering with disbelief and joy. "Did you hear that? He called me. He spoke, Hung. He really spoke. Hung stood frozen, hardly daring to believe his ears. Slowly, he stepped closer, gazing at his little boy, smiling brightly, eyes shining like tiny stars. A smile spread across Hung's face too, the smile of a man who had endured countless sleepless nights, now witnessing the smallest yet most miraculous gift of his life. He placed a gentle hand on Hoài Ca's shoulder, his voice low but warm as the evening breeze. You see, we may have lost the money, but we've gained something far more precious. Hoài Ca broke down, sobbing as she wrapped Tony tightly in her arms. The boy giggled softly, his tiny hand brushing her cheek as if to wipe away her tears. The last rays of sunlight poured through the window, wrapping the three of them in a halo of golden warmth. In that moment, there were no hospitals, no pain, no losses, only pure, sacred joy, a child's very first word, and that word was Mom. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. But inside that small room, the light remained the light of love, of faith, and of a new beginning, where even the fiercest storms must finally yield before the smile of a child. Stay tuned for the next episode. As Tony begins to speak more, each word filling Hung and Hoài Ca's hearts with overwhelming joy. But that happiness is soon shadowed by an unexpected sign. A strange new symptom that leaves the doctors deeply concerned. Could it be that behind Tony's miraculous progress lies something no one could have foreseen? Do you believe Hung and Hoài Ca's journey has truly found peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Because in life, sometimes after a miracle comes an even greater challenge waiting ahead. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to continue following the story of Hoài Ca, Hung, and little Tony in the series Faith After the Storm.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đang tiếp tục làm video tiếp theo về câu chuyện của Ly Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Hiện tại là mình đang xuất phụ đề và mình cũng đang lên cho video. Mình cũng không biết là lên viết như thế nào nữa. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều vì đã xem video của mình. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại trong những video sau.